Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Last time around, I did my best to rank Elvis's movie soundtracks in order of my preference. And when I'd finished doing that, I started thinking about movie soundtrack compilations and the various forms that they've taken over the years. And I started thinking, have we seen the ultimate movie compilation? Can you even have the ultimate movie compilation? Because it's all obviously entirely subjective and down to individual fan preferences and favourites. So I started thinking about, well, when did we first start seeing attempts at putting a compilation together of Elvis's movie songs? And I thought really the first examples of that are probably the Camden releases, Elvis Sings Hits from his movies Volume 1 and 2. And in actual fact, a lot of the Camdens had a lot of movie tracks that hadn't been released on album up until that date, didn't they? But I think for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to look at those Camdens, not even Sings Hits from his movies, because as we know, they weren't just movie songs on there. You had other tracks on the second one, for instance, Burning Love. You got things like Big Boss Man. So, they're not pure movie soundtrack compilations. So I'm not going to look at those. And what I am going to look at is just what's in my collection. And it's the tip of the iceberg, really. There have been numerous attempts at doing Elvis movie compilations over the years, starting in the era of vinyl, coming through, in more recent times to CDs. But there have been many, many attempts. And that's what really got me thinking, well, lots of people have had lots of cracks at coming up with a movie compilation, and some of them even call themselves the ultimate, definitive, or whatever it might be. But I'm not sure we've actually seen that. And as I said, I'm not entirely sure that's even possible. But what I'd like to do is start with what I think is the first example of a pure movie soundtrack compilation. It's the first example I encountered, and I think unless I'm mistaken, I think this is the first time anyone attempted to put Elvis's movie songs together on one release. And this is 1975's Pictures of Elvis on RCA Starcall. Now, what do we see on this one? Well, it's, because it's a budget label, we get 12 tracks. So it's going to always struggle to be a definitive representation of Elvis's musical movie output. But, for me, it was an eye-opener, because I think I ended up with this. If it wasn't the year it was released, it was a year afterwards. So we are talking 75 or 76. So there was a lot of material on here that I was hearing for the first time. Paradise of Wine Style, Girl Happy, Do the Clam, were songs that I was unfamiliar with because I hadn't yet got those soundtrack albums. So it was a great introduction for me. And that I don't think they made a bad job at this. When you think about it, they did give us movie hits. We got Return to Sender, Bossa Nova Baby, Rockahula Baby. So they gave us some movie bona fide single hits, and we got a few probably more obscure, I guess, Double Trouble, maybe even Fun in Acapulco, Little Egypt from Roustabout. So, they, as I said, 12 tracks, you're going to struggle to get a definitive representation of Elvis's movie songs. But, for a starter for 10, I don't think that was a bad little attempt by RCA and on their Starcall imprint. It's, if you discount those Camdens, I really think 1975, this was the first time that anyone had a bash at sort of putting together an Elvis movie compilation. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. I may well have missed something along the way, but I think this was the first one. And not a bad starter, really. It's not definitive, but it's not a bad release at all. And in the same year, 1975, we saw this. Now this wasn't a standalone release as such. This came with the Reader's Digest 6 LP box set, Elvis Presley's Greatest Hits. And this was a kind of bonus free album that came along with that, Elvis in the Movies. So it's an official RCA release, but it's licensed to Reader's Digest. And we get a shot of Elvis and GI Blues on the front, and then we get a great little publicity still on the back. So what do we get then? Love Me Tender, Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, King Creole, Wooden Heart, Flaming Star, Wild in the Country, Rockahula Baby, Return to Sender, Bossa Nova Baby, Viva Las Vegas, Kissing Cousins, Do the Clam, Double Trouble, and It's a Wonderful World from Live a Little, Love a Little. So far so good. That's not a bad little selection. The reason I'm gonna discount this as a contender for the ultimate movie compilation is the track that I didn't read out. The last but one track, Guitar Man. Now, you look at that track list and you think, oh, well, for some reason they've not gone for a pure movie song compilation. But when you look at the label, I don't know if that's going to come out on camera, but you will see that it actually says Guitar Man and in brackets Clambake. So they've gone and taken one of the bonus songs off the Clambake album and put it on a movie compilation as if it was in that movie. Oh dear, oh dear. Someone didn't quite do their research there. I mean, that's pretty poor, isn't it? So anyway, even if this release from 1975 hadn't have made that mistake and put Guitar Man, which isn't a movie song, on it, I think I probably would have discounted it, because when you look at things like Love Me Tender, Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, it does say at the bottom that's it in the dreaded electronically reprocessed stereo. And as we all know, that doesn't sound great. So a valiant effort. You certainly got a more of a sweep. When you think of pictures of Elvis, it kind of went for the sort of early to mid 60s movies. So it kind of missed out the really early 50s ones, and it missed out the later ones in the 60s. This one does try more of a sweep across the film output, but can't forgive it, the Guitar Man. That's a clunker, isn't it? So I'm going to discount that one. That's certainly not ultimate in my eyes, but a reasonable effort. And then we go to 1976. So a lot of these, 75, 75, 76, there was a real desire at that time to obviously look back at Elvis's movie career and put some compilations together. Now this one is a German release, Elvis in Hollywood, and this is not a bad little compilation actually. It was also re-released under license to the Everest record label with a completely different cover, and the track listing are absolutely identical on both. So there's your rear of the German one, and there's your rear of the Everest Records one. But your track listing is absolutely identical. And that track listing gives us Jailhouse Rock, Rockahula Baby, GI Blues, Kissing Cousins, Wild in the Country, King Creole, Blue Hawaii, Fun in Acapulco, Follow That Dream, and Girls, Girls, Girls. Side 1. Side 2, Viva Las Vegas, Bossa Nova Baby, Flaming Star, Girl Happy, Frankie and Johnny, Roustabout, Spin Out, Double Trouble, Charo, and They Remind Me Too Much of You. So, 20 tracks there, and not a bad little stab at coming through the entire sweep of Elvis's movie career. You get your early 50s, you get your early 60s to mid 60s. I would say where it lets itself down is probably the later 60s movies. Yes, you've got Charo, but you've got nothing from Live a Little, Love a Little, nothing from The Trouble with Girls, nothing from Stay Away Joe, nothing from Change of Habit. So it does sort of, although it pops Charo in as almost feels like an afterthought, you're not really getting anything representative of those later 60s movies. But nevertheless, I don't think that's a bad little compilation at all. And what you see in some of them, they tend to go for a very chronological representation of the movies. This one sort of mixes it up and drops them in and out. I mean, Charo, then followed by They Remind Me Too Much of You, is an odd listening experience, I would suggest. But this isn't a bad one at all. This is, a reasonable stab, I'd say, at a career retrospective. But I don't think it's by any means definitive. But not a bad attempt for 76. In 1983, Arcade were back. So they had the phenomenal success of Elvis's 40 Greatest in 74. And in 1983, they were back with Golden Film Hits. Now, much, following the format of 40 Greatest, we get a double album, we get a gatefold sleeve. What I think is a little bit odd about this is the cover. It just feels to me like that's not that's Elvis when he that sort of press handing over the yacht, the Potomac, but it's not taken at a particularly great angle. He's kind of, and there's a bit of an odd bit of the hair cut out there. So and then the rest, I don't know. It looks like when somebody's scrapbook and they've put. I don't think it's a particularly well laid out cover. Let me know what you think, but I think that one's a bit of a disaster, really. The back, fairly plain, although that nice touch of popular tunes and what they had up after Elvis passed is quite nice. Actually, I think the gatefold is better than the cover. Yeah, the gatefold is better than the cover. Yeah, there's lots of images, but they seem better laid out. There's a better sort of... I mean, I don't... Personally, if I was going for a thing that said Golden Film Hits, I don't think I'd have included shots from the 68 special, Elvis's Wedding, Elvis's Gravestone. Odd art choices. Elvis Golden Film Hits, and we'll put a load of stuff that really has no relevance to Elvis's film hits. Even that shot. And then the Army, in fact, very few of them. What have we got? Signing Autographs with Love Me Tender. Vegas 69, Change of Habit. There's probably, what, 2 there? 3. That's a spin-out publicity shot, isn't it? 3 out of all those that are actually connected to the movies. And in fact, if you look at the front, we've got Paradise Hawaiian Style, Frankie and Johnny, 68 Special, Elvis in 50s. Yeah, I'm not sure who was in charge of the artwork of this, but I don't think they read the brief, Golden Film Hits. So anyway, enough of the artwork. Let's talk about the tracks. We do get... We get about 28 tracks, heading 28 tracks, there or thereabouts. So not a bad sweep, not a bad sweep at all. So what have we got? I'm not going to be able to read that back to front, so I'm going to have to hold it there. So, Blue Hawaii, Bossa Nova Baby, Wooden Heart, Return to Sender, Viva Las Vegas, Follow That Dream, I Slipped, I Stumbled, I Fell, GI Blues, Jailhouse Rock, Roustabout, Flaming Star, Kissing Cousins #2, Hard-Headed Woman, Easy Come, Easy Go, Teddy Bear, You Can't Say No in Acapulco, No More, King Creole, Frankie and Johnny, Loving You, and Funny Acapulco, I Just Can't Help Believing, Love Me Tender, Guitar Man, here we go again. It even says From Clambake. Girl Happy, Double Trouble, Wild in the Country, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. Now, I like the fact that they've gone for things like You Can't Say No in Acapulco, I Slipped, I Stumbled, I Fell. You know, that shows some desire to pull out some slightly more obscure things, not just all the well-known movie songs. But the hodgepodge that we saw on the cover, for a start, as you saw, Guitar Man again, and it even says From Clambake. But much as I adore I Just Can't Help Believing and You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, there's no way if I was doing a Golden Film Hits, I'd put stuff from That's the Way It Is on it. For me, the film hits are from the scripted movies. That's the Way It Is being a documentary is an entirely different kettle of fish. And also the very, you know, the incongruous running order of that is just Wild in the Country followed by You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. You know, that it's not unfortunately, Arcade, it fails miserably as a film compilation because of 3 of the choices you made. If you'd have replaced those 3 with bona fide film movie material, and if you'd have made a fraction of an effort to make a sleeve that was even vaguely well designed, I think you might have stood a chance of probably being the best vinyl compilation we've seen. But I don't think that's the case. It lets itself down on a number of levels to me, but let me know what you think in the comments. But an effort, but you know, bearing in mind these were the people that gave the world the Elvis 40 Greatest, and what a landmark release that was. This is a bit of a disaster. Every track on it's great. I'm not saying it isn't, but its execution as a film hits is, well, yeah. So let's swiftly move on from vinyl, shall we? Let's take ourselves to 1995. We're going to jump forward 12 years from the last release, and we're going to talk about this. Command Performances, The Essential 60s Masters 2. Now, we'd had the Essential 60s Masters box set, and this was a kind of follow-up because the Essential 60s Masters was all studio material. It was all secular studio material, and it very deliberately missed off anything from the movies. So they left that to this sort of supplementary release, Essential 60s Masters 2. Now this is a bit of, this particular release of it's a bit of an anomaly to me. And if anyone knows in the comments where this originated, I'd love to know, because I haven't really been able to find out. Because the original version of this and the version that I had first time around was in a fat box, 2-disc fat box with a card slipcase with that cover. And when I decided to replace everything and pick it up again, I came across this, and initially I thought to myself, that's a bit weird. I've never seen it in that format before, in just a standard 2-CD dual case. So I wonder, I don't know what I thought, whether I thought it was someone had, obviously someone's not cobbled it together themselves. Everything is as it should be. Everything sits as it should be. The design is as it should be, but it's a 2-CD dual case version, and I'm not sure where this one's come from, because I haven't seen many in this format. They're usually in the fat box with the slipcase. So if anyone does know, I'd be interested to know, because I haven't really been able to find out, you know, what's behind this one and why it was issued in this format. But I digress. This was definitely, we've gone into the CD era, obviously, and this was definitely the first attempt to really try and put something definitive, if you like, together. We've got a really nice little booklet. detail in the tracks. Then we've got some background, some nice pictures. And it really is, you know, a much more comprehensive look at Elvis's movie soundtrack output than we had seen previously on vinyl. So apologies if you can hear lots of birds tweeting. I'm not sure if I've just entered a Hitchcock movie and they're about to come for me, but there's a lot of bird noise going on in the garden at the moment. There's probably a cat bothering them. But yeah, the this attempt, right, let's have a look at our tracks and let's see what we think, because this is not, I'm not going to read them all out because we have 62 tracks in total, and unfortunately that's given a tremendous amount of glare wherever I hold it. So let me see if I can actually show the tracks from the booklet, because we might do better without glare from there. I don't know if that's going to come through, but hopefully it will. We're certainly not going to get any glare there. What do we think? What do I think? So, Joe Blues, Wooden Heart, Shopping Around, Doing the Best I Can, Flaming Star, World in the Country, Lonely Man. So they are, where we go to each movie, they are giving us representations of each one. So, for instance, It Happened at the World's Fair, we get One Broken Heart for Sale, I'm Falling in Love Tonight, They Remind Me Too Much of You. Fun in Acapulco, we get the title track, Bossa Nova Baby, Margarita, Mexico. Kissing Cousins, One Boy, Two Little Girls, Once Is Enough. So they're giving us, there or thereabouts, 3-4 per movie in the main. Viva Las Vegas, What I Say, we only get 2. Roustabout 4. Girl Happy 3. Harem Holiday 2. Okay. And we go right through, so we do get the later 60s material. We get things Almost in Love, Little Less Conversation, Edge of Reality, Charo, Clean Up Your Own Backyard, Change of Habit. Okay, so definitely the first attempt we've seen of a real sweep of Elvis's movie career. I mean, 62 tracks. However, because this is the Essential 60s Masters 2, there's no 50s material on it because it's the 60s Masters. So while it tries to give us a nice sweep of Elvis's music career, we miss all the 50s movies. So we can never consider this one definitive with those missing. We just can't. So, you know, a valiant effort and not a bad listen. I think the only problem with this one is it doesn't sound great. I remember when I first got it and put it on, a lot of it sounds quite thin and reedy. Whatever digital mastering they've done on this, it doesn't sound particularly fantastic. So I'm certainly not going to put this forward as the best you can get. It's good. I mean, I applaud the fact that, you know, they're going for, what have we got? We've got Stay Away Joe. We haven't. See, I would have gone Stay Away rather than Stay Away Joe. Well, I might have put both on actually. But at least we haven't got Guitar Man. At least because it's RCA, they knew that wasn't a song from Klondike. But, you know, at least what I like on this one is we get pretty much all the actual title tracks. So we get Paradise of Wine Style, we get Frankie and Johnny, we get Spin Out. Do we get Double Trouble? We get Double Trouble, Easy Come, Easy Go. Actually, there's only one track from Easy Come, Easy Go. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good, but I think it could be better. I think it could be improved on. So I'm not going to give that an ultimate one. Now, when do we go here? 1999. Now, this one, Can't Help Falling in Love, the Hollywood Hits. I really like the design of this one. I think it's really, really nicely done. It just looks really poppy, as in the colours pop. I think it looks really nice. And you see here, with this, we were still in Artist of the Century territory. So we're in 99 and we're still getting that branding. But I think this is a nice little compilation, this one. This one can be picked up really easily. You're not getting much in the booklet, but again, nice design. Nice design. So what do we get? Am I going to be able to get... Yeah, that's not too bad. Jailhouse Rock, Loving You, Hard-Headed Woman, Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear, King Creole, Treat Me Nice, Love Me Tender, Shopping Around, Wooden Heart, Rockahula Baby, Follow That Dream, King of the Whole Wide World, Such an Easy Question. It's not a movie song, is it? It may well have been in a movie, Tickle Me, but it's not a movie song. It wasn't recorded for a movie. So to me, it doesn't belong on here. Return to Sender, One Broken Heart for Sale, Bossa Nova Baby, Viva Las Vegas, Kissing Cousins, Roustabout, Puppet on a String, Clean Up Your Own Backyard, and Can't Help Falling in Love. Not a bad little compilation at all, that one. Let down for me by the inclusion of Such an Easy Question. Great track as it is. It's not a movie song, unless you're really stretching a point, but it wasn't recorded for a movie. Oh, look, can you hear that? That's the ice cream van turning up. Which makes me laugh because it's a really grey old day, so I can't see many people rushing out to avail themselves of an ice cream, but they never miss an opportunity. It's not cold, so I suppose they think that. But anyway, you know, everything today, the birds, the ice cream van, everything's doing their best to confound my attempts to record this, but we will plough on regardless. Where were we? Right, okay, Such an Easy Question. Wouldn't have put that on there. And again, though it's a nice little compilation, this one's heavily... I mean, it's called the Hollywood Hits, so you can kind of understand why it's heavily weighted to the 50s, because more of those were bona fide hits as singles. But even so, you know, as a sweep, we're missing out the late 60s as well. Clean Up Your Own Backyard, and that's all we get. So I'm going to give this a highly recommended, simply because I think the design is superb. I think it's nicely put together. I love the font. I just love everything about the way they've done it together. But in terms of a representative of Ultimate Elvis in the movies, I don't think it is. So now we jump through to 2007, and RCA, BMG, Sony have another bash. And this time they give us Elvis at the Movies, a 2 CD compilation. So we go back to the 2 CD format. There's not really anything to speak of underneath the disc, I don't think. There's a couple of sort of faded out photos. So, you know, they go back to the same 2 disc format. This time we get much less in terms of tracks. What do we get? It's like we get 40. So whereas Command Performances gave us 62, this gives us 40. But there's our track list on this one. And I do think this one does try to go for a slightly different angle. They don't go with all the actual title tracks from the movies as Command Performances did, but they still do try and pull out, you know, they go for they're going for quality, and they try and pull out not necessarily the most obvious choices. So we get Love Me Tender, Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, Treat Me Nice, Hard-Headed Woman, King Creole, GI Blues, Frankfurt Special, Flaming Star, Lonely Man, Can't Help Falling in Love, Blue Hawaii, Rockahula Baby, Follow That Dream, King of the Whole Wide World, Return to Sender, One Broken Heart for Sale, They Remind Me Too Much of You, Bossa Nova Baby, Viva Las Vegas, Disc 2, What I Say, Kissing Cousins, Little Egypt, Do the Clam, Such an Easy Question, I'm Yours, Shake That Tambourine, Frankie and Johnny, This Is My Heaven, All That I Am, I'll Be Back, Long-Legged Girl with a Short Dress On, The Love Machine, Clambake, Let Yourself Go, Stay Away Joe, A Little Less Conversation, Charo, Clean Up Your Own Backyard, and Rubbernecking. So not a bad little compilation at all, I'd say. There are some strange choices for me. One track from Harem Holiday, Scare 'Em, and it's Shake That Tambourine. Now, okay, you could say, well, they're not going for the obvious tracks, they've gone for something a bit more obscure, because the obvious track that most people would plump for from Harem Scare 'Em is So Close Yet So Far from Paradise. But if that was the case, they've gone with Clambake from Clambake. They've gone, such an easy question. When I was reading that out, I didn't realise they've done it again. Very odd. Very odd. It's like they want to be representative of each movie, but you don't need to with Tickle Me, because it just reused tracks that have been recorded before. So I just don't think Tickle Me belongs on any movie compilation, personally. So yeah, what Viva Las Vegas seems quite unrepresented each time. We only get Viva Las Vegas on What I Say. You know, where's Come On Everybody? You know, if you think I don't need you, I need somebody to lean on. They've gone with Stay Away from Stay Away Joe, which is a good choice. But then if you're going to go Clambake, and that is the only track from Clambake, why would you go Love Machine from Easy Come Easy Go? Not sure. Again, Paradise Hawaiian Style, This Is My Heaven, not Paradise Hawaiian Style itself. It's almost like in some cases they've shied away from the title track, but some they have gone with it, and I'm not sure they've gone for the stronger ones. No, I applaud the effort of this. I don't really, I like the cover, but you know, it's very bare bones, but it is what it is. I think it was out in other territories as a jewel case, and I'm not sure if that actually had a booklet, but we didn't get a booklet, we just got the slipcase. It's not bad. It's not bad, but again, I don't think it's definitive. It makes some odd choices. Now, 2019, we got this one from the, what are they called? Don't know what the label's called. I think it's, I can't even find a label, to be honest. Also available in the series, I think. I don't know what the label's called. I think, Big Three. Big Three, that's right. And that's their kind of thing that they release triple CD sets of all sorts of things. This is Elvis at the Movies. This gives us a 3 CD compilation, and we get movie stills behind the discs, the first 2. That's not a movie still anyway. And then they sort of plug the rest of their various offerings. But what does this one give us? Is that better in black? Let's have it in black. So there is the 3 discs. Now this one gives us more from each of the movies. In fact, we get big selections from certainly the early movies. But I think why this one can't possibly be the definitive movie compilation is because it's a public domain release, so it only goes to 1963. So the last movie we see on here is Girls, Girls, Girls. So we get Girls, 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 I Don't Want to Be Tied, brilliant song. Earth Boy, Return to Sender, Because of Love, We're Coming In Loaded. But it doesn't go any further than Girls, Girls, Girls. So while it gives us 3 CDs of material, which is great, it's certainly not definitive, because at least half of Elvis's movie career is missing. So this was kind of me just trying to give an example of what you'll see with some of these budget releases that aren't official label. They're only public domain. You're only going to go as far as 63. So nice little listen, nice little compilation, easy to pick up, cheap to pick up, but not definitive. Now that was 2019. I'm going to jump back to the final one I'm going to look at was the official label having another crack. And this time they gave us the real Elvis Presley at the movies from 2018. Now it's interesting because the real, they did a series of 3. There was an original one, Elvis in the 50s, and there was also Elvis in the 60s. And this was at the movies. But they missed a trick really, because I'd have put double E there, the real Elvis Presley. If you're going to go movies, I'd have given a double E. But now, this says the ultimate collection. So it's like this time they're saying, right, we're not messing about. This one's the ultimate collection. This is as good as it gets. This kind of follows the sort of pattern of that one just then. You only get your 3 CDs and there's no booklet or anything. And under each disc, you're just getting your track information. There's nothing really to see there. But the selling point of this one, you can see at the top there, the other 2 releases in the real. The 2 Elvis releases. But this one, there's something about this one that I'm quite fond of the fact that they've gone with the British Lightning logo for RCA. That's quite nice. But I think when you start looking at this track list, so what do we get? 36, 46, 54 tracks. So this gives us nearly as many as we got on the Command performances. But all 3 of the real series sound great. They sound really good. But I don't know if that's because maybe they benefit from the remastering that was done to the entire Masters catalogue. Could well be. So if you compare this to Command performances, for a start, the sound quality on this blows this one out of the water. But if you look at the sweep, for a start, where that was just 60s, this goes all the way through. And there is your track listing. Love Me Tender, We're Gonna Move, Loving You, Lonesome Cowboy, Let's Have a Party, Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear, Got a Lot of Living to Do, Jailhouse Rock, Young and Beautiful, You're So Square, Baby I Don't Care, I Want to Be Free, King Creole, Don't Ask Me Why, Hard-Headed Woman, As Long as I Have You, Trouble, Lover Doll and New Orleans. So they do dedicate a whole disc to the 50s movies, which you could say is a little bit skewed because that's 4 out of the 31. But then, you know, they did produce more hits than the later ones. And, you know, as I kind of came to the conclusion last episode, the material was uniformly stronger in those first 4, certainly the 2, 3 and 4 anyway, movies. But what else do we get? So we get GI Blues, Wooden Heart, Shopping Around, Flaming Star, Wild in the Country, Blue Hawaii, Rockahula Baby, Can't Help Falling in Love, Follow That Dream, Home Is Where the Heart Is, Girls, 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 Return to Sender, One Broken Heart for Sale, Fun in Acapulco, Bossa Nova Baby, Viva Las Vegas, You're the Boss, Kissing Cousins, Roustabout, It's a Wonderful World, Go Happy, Cross My Heart, Hope to Die, Harem Holiday, Frankie and Johnny, Please Don't Stop Loving Me, This Is My Heaven, Spin Out, Never Say Yes, Double Trouble, Easy Come Easy Go, Clambake, Speedway, Stay Away Joe, Little Less Conversation, Clean Up Your Own Backyard and Change of Habit. I don't think that's bad at all. Personally, there are a few changes I would have made. So I would want Stay Away on there. What's a bit disappointing on all of these is something as great as All I Needed Was the Rain is missing off all of them. So, you know, there are absolute gems in some of those soundtracks that they don't get. One of them did have Edge of Reality, didn't it? Can't remember where we saw Edge of Reality. It was on one of them. Edge of Reality is on that one. But you know what I mean? Some of those real crackers that the general public don't know. And unfortunately, we don't get a definitive, for me, movie compilation with all those real belters pulled out. But I think really, if we're talking about the entire sweep of Elvis's career, movie career, this is about as good as it gets to date. And this is 2018. I think there's still room. I think there's still room for a really, really top class movie compilation out there, because this hasn't got, you know, Roustabout. If I was going to go 2 tracks from Roustabout, it's the second one. Certainly it wouldn't be for me. It's a Wonderful World. They haven't put Paradise of Wine Style. They've put This Is My Heaven. So I think there's room for improvement. I really think, you know, bearing in mind this was 2018, maybe it's time they had another bash. But I think out of all the ones that we've looked at today, I think this is the closest we get to what this claims to be, the ultimate collection. But I don't think it is the ultimate collection, and I don't think we've seen the ultimate movie collection. But I think really this is as close as it gets, and this is a nice little budget release. This is easy to pick up and it's cheap to pick up. And if you compare this to this Big 3 label one that is a 3 CD, there's no comparison, because this has got a much better sound and it's got a much wider sweep of Elvis's movie career. It's certainly better than this one, although this does pull some of the more obscure tracks that this doesn't. It's better than this one because this one doesn't include the 50s, and this has got pretty thin sound. So really, I'm gonna plump with the real Elvis Presley at the movies as the closest we get to an ultimate movie compilation. But as I said, I don't think we've seen it yet. I think there's room for a better one than this. In fact, you know, that's something that in this age of playlists I might have to get round to doing. I might have to do myself what I consider my ultimate movie compilation. Because in the old days it'd been mixtapes we were doing, wouldn't it? But not anymore. Not anymore. Anywho, what do you think? What do you think to what you've seen? Are there any that I've missed out? What's your very favourite Elvis movie compilation? And do you agree that you think actually there's still room for a better one that we haven't seen yet? As ever, let me know what you think in the comments. Love to read all your comments. I hope that was reasonably enjoyable. And, you know, as ever, I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I hope that you're able to join me for next week's episode. But until then, whatever you're doing, take care, everyone. Ta-da.
We'll meet you again. May God bless you. Adios.